It's the 10th video in the Let's Build an Encounter series, so you know we gotta build an encounter around one of D&D's best creatures. And who better to focus on than this big ol' sack of nightmare fuel? Hello, my name is Matt, and welcome to My Hidden Nerdy Side, a channel created by a nerd who doesn't have many nerdy friends, and so I must rant to you. Today we are going to be tackling the monster that is probably the most synonymous with Dungeons & Dragons apart from dragons themselves, the Beholder. We're going to talk about their lore, background info, and abilities, and then build an encounter you can steal, modify, and plop directly into your D&D games. With this encounter, we're going to create a Beholder on Beholder turf war because, well, why not? That sounds insane and could lead to some terrifying combat and some absolutely wild role-playing moments. Now, if you are well aware of the lore and mechanics behind the Beholder, then feel free to pop on over to the timestamp right here so you can jump straight to the encounter itself. I'll leave a clickable version in the description below. Also, if you like what I do here, stick around and subscribe, for I'll be putting out at least one of these videos every week and hopefully additional content the more this channel grows. Alright, let's take a quick look at the Beholder, shall we? The Beholder lore, info, abilities, and so on will be pulled directly from pages 26 to 28 of the Monster Manual. So, a Beholder is a levitating giant eyeball with sharp teeth and 10 eye stalks that all shoot their own individual magical ray that can either do some serious damage or create an effect that places PCs at a serious disadvantage. When it sleeps, its main eye closes, but the rest of its eyes remain open to spot out incoming enemies, which makes sense since Beholders are some of the most paranoid evil creatures around. On top of them being super paranoid and thinking everyone is plotting against them, Beholders are also incredibly vain and think one of the reasons everyone is plotting against them is because they are jealous and resent them for being just so damn awesome and powerful. Basically, anyone that isn't a Beholder is scum in a Beholder's eyes. Even other Beholders. Every Beholder believes they are the perfect Beholder, and if a different Beholder doesn't look the way they do, they believe they are lesser and a disgrace to Beholders everywhere. Which is hilarious considering Beholders can vary greatly in appearance. They can have smooth hides or rough and chiseled ones, they can have wriggly eye stalks or hardened ones with joints, they can be different colors, and so on and so on. And because of this, it's very easy for two Beholders to become mortal enemies. So, when you believe you're basically a god amongst men, what do? You gather slaves, of course. This is why the commonly named Eye Tyrants are known for being the heads of massive networks of monsters and slaves that do their bidding. Because Beholders absolutely refuse to share, their lairs are usually located in areas that they can truly call their own. And so, abandoned ruins, deep dark caverns, and vast empty hillsides are all places you could potentially find a Beholder lair. Commonly, you'll find networks of vertical tunnels carved out from their disintegration eye ray. This is because Beholders can levitate and they know other creatures can't, so it makes it easy for them to move around and difficult for intruders to follow them. And finally, Beholder lairs are usually filled with defeated enemies, treasure they've stolen, other Beholders they've bested, and anything else that would satisfy their insane ego. So looking at a Beholder's stats and actions, which can be found on page 28 of the Monster Manual, I mean, there's a reason why these guys are so goddamn scary to go up against. They aren't particularly fast, with an only 20-foot hover speed, and aren't very beefy, sitting at an 18 AC and 180 HP. I mean, high-level parties can melt through that relatively quickly if they focus their fire. But there are two things that make a Beholder so terrifying to go up against. Its anti-magic cone, and its 10 different eye rays it can shoot from its eye stalks. It also has a bite attack, but if you actually use that in combat, you're probably trolling. It can shoot 3 eye rays on its turn and an additional 3 eye rays as legendary actions. That means it can get off 6 of these eye rays a round. Now, one thing to keep in mind that is very important is that you roll a d10 to randomly determine which eye ray is fired, and you re-roll duplicates. This is something I accidentally glossed over the first time I ran a Beholder and things got ugly real quick. So we'll go over them super quickly. A Beholder can charm a creature for 1 hour or until the Beholder harms them. It can paralyze a creature for 1 minute. It can frighten the target for 1 minute. It can slow the creature for 1 minute, having its speed, taking away its reaction, and limiting the creature to either 1 action or 1 bonus action a turn. Its Enervation Ray can deal necrotic damage. Its Telekinetic Ray can forcefully move targets 30 feet in any direction and restrain them until the start of the Beholder's next turn. It can make you fall asleep for 1 minute. It can petrify you permanently until you are freed by magic. It can disintegrate you into a pile of dust. And finally, it can just straight up kill you with its Death Ray. All of its DCs are 16 and the type of saving throw varies on the ray. On top of all of this, its anti-magic cone spreads 150 feet out from its main eye, and anyone caught up on it cannot use magic of any kind. This does apply to the Beholder's eye rays, but since it has 10 eyes that are located either on the side, top, or back of its body, it doesn't have any trouble aiming at targets outside of that cone. So, If you're low on health, there is a 20% chance a beholder can instant kill you per round. The rest of its eye rays can totally debilitate those who are lucky enough to be breathing, and there's a good chance at least one of your spellcasters won't be able to do anything on their turn due to its main eye. So yeah, this is why beholders are so terrifying to go up against. It also has some incredible lair actions, like spawning another eyeball out of the wall to shoot yet another eye ray, which is now up to 7 per round, spawning limbs and appendages out of the wall that can grapple people they get their creepy little paws on, and it can make the ground slimy, turning it into difficult terrain. They also have a few regional effects as well as a bunch of cool additional pieces of lore and info on pages 5 to 15 of Volo's Guide to Monsters. Such as apparently beholders are born on the rare occasion a beholder dreams of another beholder, which causes a warp in reality and another full-grown beholder to just spawn into existence. So if you want some more in-depth lore or info on beholders, I recommend checking that out, either in Volo's or by simply clicking the D&D Beyond link below. So now that we've gone over the beholder's lore, basic info, and abilities, let's start crafting an encounter. This encounter will be aimed at parties level 12 to 16 depending on how difficult you want to make it, and last roughly 1 to 3 sessions depending on how much you want to stretch it out. The party's motivation should always be tailored to the campaign, but for this encounter we will say there are some secret scrolls or knowledge of some kind necessary for the party to continue their main quest, and they are located underground in some abandoned ruins. So upon hearing about this ancient abandoned ruin, the party will begin to head underground where it's said to be located. After their long journey, your party will exit a narrow passway and enter a massive dark cavern. It's so wide you can't see where it ends, but 300 feet ahead of the party will be some gigantic stone doors. The ruins are said to be beyond those doors. So, quest over, right? Nah, we're gonna make crossing that 300-foot strip a hassle or else we wouldn't be doing our job. To set the scene, it'll be quiet. Too quiet. All you can hear is the dripping of moisture off the stalactites. As your party continues walking along, they'll notice a plethora of burned corpses and miniature craters in the ground. Some of the corpses will be humanoid, and some are large and monstrous. Then, when your party is about 50 to 100 feet in, it begins. Your party begins to hear screaming from the far left and the far right as they see dozens of soldiers and monsters leap out of the trenches. Flintlock rifles fire, arrows fly from bows, giant casks of fire and acid launch out of catapults, and whatever other insanity you come up with as your party realizes that there is trench warfare going on and they are in the middle of no man's land. However, after the initial volley, both sides will cease fire and tell your party not to move as they send a representative from each side to talk to them. Depending on how difficult you want to make this encounter, on the one side there will be 20 to 50 Duergar, 5 to 15 Quaggoths, 3 to 6 Balgura, and 3 to 6 Chimeras. On the other side there will be 20 to 50 Drow, 3 to 7 Drow Elite Warriors, 2 to 4 Drow Mages, 3 to 6 Hellhounds, and 3 to 6 Manticores. Now this might seem like an unwinnable situation, and if your party decides to take them all on at once, it absolutely will be. So unless you want a TPK on your hands, make it clear to the party that the representatives they send mean no harm. On the mainly Duergar side, a Duergar named Bremer will appear. On the primarily Drow side, a Drow named Fildar will appear. They will explain that both serve a beholder overlord. Bremer serves King Simdrax, and Fildar serves Queen Vethero. Essentially, both of the beholders have continued to expand their territory so much that they are about to overlap, and since beholders are so incredibly egotistical, they are of course refusing to share. The ruins that your party needs to reach and the 300-foot strip in front of them have been fought over for months now with very little ground gained on either side. At this point, both sides will try to recruit your party over to their side, claiming their beholder overlord is the one true ruler of this land, and if you pledge allegiance to their beholder ruler and help take out the other one, they will graciously allow you to take a glimpse at the knowledge you seek. This gives your party 3 clear-cut options. Well, 4 actually, but we'll go over the 4th one later. 1. Join or pretend to join King Simdrax. 2. Join or pretend to join Queen Vethero. Or 3. Risk it and just barrel on through. Choosing option 3 is definitely the riskiest one, but it could lead to some incredible tactical combat opportunities as your party bars themselves behind a giant stone door and has to plan out how they're going to escape 2 beholder armies they've just pissed off. But let's just say they go with one of the other 2 options. How do we make it an interesting choice? Well, we can either play to the player's personality, or we can play to their greedy side, or why not both? Now, beholders are egotistical maniacs who only love themselves, but they can have personality traits your players can latch onto in order to help them make their decision. For example, say they go to meet King Simdrax and he is all about brutal destruction and wants to burn all the texts, maps, and everything else in the ruins behind the stone doors because all knowledge that doesn't praise him is a crime. Then they go to Queen Vethero, who wants to take all that knowledge for herself so she can laugh at how pitiful lifeforms are that are too stupid to recognize her as their god. Both of these beholders are still clearly terrible creatures, but depending on the character makeup of your party, they may lean to one or the other. To appeal to your party's greedy side, maybe one beholder has better loot to offer the party, or one has better loot in their lairs, so the party side with the other beholder just so they can take it when they kill them. Maybe one beholder offers them gold and the other one offers them magic items. Maybe one offers them weapons and the other one offers them armor. Maybe one offers them power-ups and the other one offers them information important for another quest. Now, I think letting your party meet both King Simdrax and Queen Vethero is great for two reasons. One, it lends to some incredible RP interactions for your players. I personally like the idea of each beholder having a translator that they speak through in order to give their demands, but that's just me. Secondly, it lets your party get a glimpse of their lair, which allows them to prep ways to navigate through it with minimal casualties, which is definitely something they'll appreciate since they're going to be going up against a beholder. So now, it's time to talk about the fourth option I mentioned earlier, which is attempt to free everybody and take out both beholders. One way to play this encounter is to have the beholder's minions be dedicated servants to their overlords, but another way to play this is making them slaves who are just too terrified to act against the beholders, and a series of persuasion checks could lead you to convincing them to turn against their masters. And now all that's left is to play it out. If they side with one of the beholders, they could lead their army into battle against the other side and create a nuts battlefield with catapults carrying acid bombs going off, manticores and chimeras fighting in the air, and a series of fights and maneuvers through the beholder lair filled with sticky floors, pit traps, collapsing ceilings, and hands jumping out of the walls trying to pull your PCs in. They could pretend to be on the beholder's side in order to get close to it and then jump it. They could convince a handful of soldiers from either side that they'll free them and create either a free-for-all battle or a stealthy assassination mission, and, well, whatever the hell else they want. But whichever route they take, your players will surely have fun because it's a tense situation they can use their brains to gain a huge advantage in and have total freedom to do whatever they please, which is the beauty of Dungeons & Dragons. Now, this encounter is already quite insane, but hell, how do we spice it up even further? Well, beholders think the world is theirs, so betraying your party after they help them, claiming everything behind the giant stone doors belongs to them, would not be a stretch. Maybe one of the beholders was created by the other beholder, creating a weird mother-daughter or father-son debacle. We could of course mix up the types of minions they have to make it extra insane, like giving one side a bunch of gelatinous cubes and centaurs and the other side bullywugs and grells. And finally, you could take it a step further and give each side a theme and play into that a bit more. Maybe one beholder is all about ice and the other one is all about fire. So they have traps, lairs, weapons, custom eye rays, and minions in order to suit that specific identity. But of course, these are just some of the ways you can use beholders in your Dungeons & Dragons campaign. There are tons of different ways to take this encounter and spice it up, so please, let me know what you would do in the comment section below so I can nerd out and smack myself in the head for not thinking of it. I'm going to be putting out at least one of these videos a week, so feel free to subscribe and share this video around if you liked it, and stay tuned for upcoming content. Thanks for watching and indulging my hidden nerdy side.